Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Circularists. And today I'm thrilled and honoured to be talking to Dr. Oxaku Tehu Kachuchu. How did I do with the pronunciation, Doctor?
All right. So you were excellent up until the last name, and it's just one difference. It's Oxaku Tehu Kachocho.
Kachocho.
Yes, ma'am. All right.
So, welcome, and I'm thrilled to be talking to you and to know a little bit more about your work and your world. I'm going to give you the floor to make your own introduction, but I would just say that from what I've learned of you, you come from indigenous parents. You come from an indigenous backstory and background. You have since passed through the US military, the Marine Corps. You've served in Afghanistan and Iraq, and you've returned to nature, to the front, a different front line this time, the front line of the climate emergency, and the mission to save humanity from its worst impacts. Is that a decent paraphrase of what we've just talked about?
I say that can work. I see it a little bit different. So being here on the front lines, I believe that we are in the middle of the mess. You know, a lot of times when it's presented, people speak in a sense like it's coming, and we know different. It's here. We're in the middle of the mess, and a lot of what we do is about action, resilience, and continuity beyond the mess and beyond the Great Reset. So I would say that what you said is pretty accurate, aside from the fact that we are in the middle of this right now, deeply in the middle of it.
So let me pass back. Let me pass back to you then, Dr. Chak, to reintroduce yourself as you would tell it. You know, from whence you came, what you're doing now, and anything else that you'd like to share with us.
Well, like I said, both of the let me put it this way. Sometimes I'm a science fiction fan, right?
Okay.
And if you I don't know if you remember the old science fiction movies where the alien lands and it jumps out the spaceship and it says, Ika or take me to your leader, right?
Yes.
And a lot of times in the movies, the leaders are presidents, prime ministers, political figures. We beg to differ. We would say that the leadership are in the people who have been connected to the planet, who have maintained a long line of stewardship of the planet. And because of the images in movies aren't controlled by us, you know, we tend to be marginalized. So leadership on the planet and from our perspective would be those indigenous cultures and that indigenous wisdom. And it's something that's being overlooked, especially when you come from a scientific perspective of climate action, climate change, what are we to do? So our organization, the people involved, we have a perfect balance between science and indigenous wisdom. And my background, I hail from two great indigenous cultures, one from the East, one from the West. I operate in South Asia as well as Central America. The majority of our operations surrounding collecting data sets, running ranger units, decentralized sustainable development models. We are pioneers in that aspect because this is something that hasn't been done before. We're finding ourselves in the middle of new emerging technologies and innovation, and we're out here on the front lines and we're instantly seeing a change. And that change is people feeling the need to cut down the bush and the forest for their continuity, to be able to build, to be able to compete in society. And now that's switching with the new technologies such as like crypto tokenomics and carbon credit certificates and AI and other emerging technologies. We find ourselves as pioneers trying to convince people that, hey, now there are alternatives that you can utilize instead of chopping the forest down, instead of killing the carbon sinks. Those carbon sinks where we live have value now. Right. Keeping them is very valuable. So we're in a new fight trying to figure out how to disseminate this new information to people who are kind of molded in the old way. With indigenous cultures, they've been fighting so long against marginalization and indigence and education gaps that a lot don't realize the new opportunity in these new modems. You know, they're still kind of stuck in the mode of trying to get the old education. You know, the stuff that wasn't working. You understand? So
I want to jump in there. I want to jump in there and ask you something. A couple of things. So you mentioned your organization. I'd like you to tell us a little bit about what your organization is and what the mission is and what the work is. And then I got the impression from what you summarized there that there's been a withdrawal away from cutting down forests, moving into more digital technologies and innovations. Did I understand that correctly?
Yes, well, disseminating how we can use those technologies in a balanced way. The way we see it is this: there's an aspect of people who are preaching the word of where they're more digitally oriented. Then there's an aspect of people who are more like actually out in the environment, are more ecocentrically oriented. We are right on the cusp. We are very balanced. You understand? So most of us are indigenous people, but we are scientists. We are there's so many degrees associated with us. We are rangers. So the balance is great with us, and we are able to see how to utilize these technologies in a balanced way where a lot of groups aren't. Like I said earlier, they're blocked by the cubicles.
I see. And I see.
We're a school without walls,
right?
So it's like we're able to see a lot of innovative ways to apply that, and I can explain and go into more details later.
Okay, cool. I understand. So your indigenous peoples harnessing innovations and technologies out in the field to apply it in situ in real life situations and circumstances.
Right? Exactly.
Okay, so
exactly.
Cool. So you're using the word we. Who are we? Who are you referring to?
Well, the organization that I'm representing, I represent a group of organizations that kind of come under one banner. That banner is the GeoCOMPASS Center. Okay. GeoCOMPASS Center was established in the United States as a 501c3, but we also have corresponding organizations that operate here in Belize, Central America, and Thailand and Indonesia in the rainforest. We actually have rainforest research centers where we run ranger units, the Gecko Ranger Command, and those ranger units are responsible for geospatial data analysis, collecting data sets on the biodiversity, on the biocultural heritages that exist in the areas where we work and operate. So that is what we do. Now, living here, we are also cultivating a integrative ranger culture that is a mix of our indigenous backgrounds, our indigenous upbringings, and a mix of the scientific upbringing as far as the way that we live and the way that we operate as rangers. So I guess applying that to the circulus modem, or making it relevant to circularists, I'll give you an example.
Cool.
When we landed on the ground here to build our research center, right? We did not want to disturb nature. We did not want to set up a large carbon footprint that wasn't integrated into the nature.
Mhm.
So we came out, we camped, we did everything in a primitive way, and then we adapted over the years, because we've been out here over 10 years in both areas. We adapted a culture and a liberty of where we actually grew our research centers from the ground up. One of the first things we did was we said, hey, one of the things we have to master in putting our boots on the ground here is waste.
Right.
We have to make sure that our waste becomes wealth, and we have to set up systems. So we immediately started adapting and improvising and pioneering in new biogas systems just for our specific research centers. So now all our research centers run off of biogas.
And what is
all our
biogas?
waste.
What is
So biogas is methane that's produced in digesters. So instead of having a traditional septic tank of where you use the bathroom and it goes into the ground and it sits there and breaks down, we actually built generators in the ground that are like large stomachs that are digesting the waste, processing the waste, releasing an effluent that we use to fertilize our forest gardens, and then releasing gas that we use to power our infrastructures here. So we cook, we run generators, everything from that waste. So we were able to, in our culture, we call it naka, or the dragon biting its tail. So we were able to create a circular condition to root everything in, or where our waste is being utilized for our main energy source and for our main fertilization of our food source.
I like the mindfulness with which you went into that space. You went in mindful to go circular and to do something that would conserve the area. And this waste becomes wealth. I just love that phrase because that's at the heart of circularity and the circular economy that everyone's talking about and dreaming about, but as yet haven't built. So can I just ask you, this research center that you've powered with circular energy, if you like, renewable energy in a circular fashion, is this something that can be replicated at scale? Why isn't everybody doing this?
Well, so what we've done is we're taking and recording extensive information because we want to we actually are open sourcing a lot of that information so that other centers can do this. Now, and the answer to your question, why others aren't doing it, is because there's a block. And I have to mention that block, right?
Yeah.
As indigenous people, as people that are heavily tied in with nature, we're in nature every day. We don't have a wall separating us from nature.
Right.
So circularism or circularist just is.
Yeah.
In order for us to survive, in order for us to think about continuity and longevity here, everything has to be relayed in a circular approach, like I explained earlier, the dragon biting its tail, right?
Right.
So we are not strapped down by the overthinking.
Okay.
We're not strapped down by the urgency of being trapped in a box and first trying to figure out how to get out of that box to touch the nature, then apply a plan.
Yeah.
You understand? It's
Yeah.
like, if it doesn't work, we do everything in a modular fashion. If it doesn't work, we break that module down, recycle it, take the best elements and rebuild another module. So as
Right.
you're going through all of the different projects and things that we've been working on over the years and the things that we're involved in, that's how it works. It's not based on, okay, I'm writing a paper, I have to go through the process of presenting it, of
Yes.
getting it accepted, of getting the funding. A big part of our funding woes was knocked out of the box when Satoshi Nakamoto came on the scene with the white paper, the Bitcoin white paper. This is freedom. This allows us to create systems, governing systems, of where we actually have a GeoCOMPASS blockchain where we sell governance tokens that are attached to each project. So if you, instead of just donating to the project, if you want to be a part of the governance of that project, you are buying in as a stakeholder. You receive voting rights and governance tokens, and you help us decide where we're going to go with a particular project, whether that's a campground, whether that we have a major water project, because we have two centers now, two research centers, one in Thailand and one here in Belize. Both of them, we strategically placed ourselves on water sources, near water sources, redundant water sources. That's groundwater, well, that's spring water, and that's creek water. So we have a project where we're actually extracting that water in a small reverse osmosis plant, processing it and distributing clean water to local rural villages
Nice.
in our area. So projects like that, we'll put up a governance token. People will buy into that, and they're helping us govern that project. You understand? It's called Aqua Fresca.
Aqua Fresca.
Yeah.
Is that
So
the
that.
URL? We can
Say
put the
again.
URL up. We can put the URL up at the end of this video for people to.
Oh,
to go
definitely,
straight there.
definitely. Yeah,
So
we have a video.
perfect. So I was quite surprised to hear you mention the name Satoshi Nakamoto there. So you're saying that his work has facilitated your funding. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, because now we are able to govern ourselves and raise our own funding creatively. So one of the things that we've developed here is something called bioculture for DesDev, or decentralized sustainable development, right? And the way that works is everything we do as far as development is based on 4 biocultural principles. That's community, that's conservation, that's cultivation, and that's construction. So we take those 4 modules and we create relevant projects based on the needs that we have here or the needs that the surrounding communities have. And we create decentralized sustainable development projects, and we create tokens, and we have a group, a membership group. We set out calls to action. We go in clearly, and we are able to raise funding quickly. So like a governance token, just to be a part of the GeoCOMPASS blockchain, is roughly around $1,000 US, but it gives you voting rights on what we do as an organization.
Okay.
Now in the projects, like for a specific project like the Aqua Fresca project, we'll set out everything we need. So part of what we need is a 20-foot shipping container, the actual reverse osmosis equipment. We'll itemize it, we'll break it down, we'll figure out the value, and then we'll auction off pieces of that project as voting rights to that project in tokens. So and those tokens are governing tokens, and a person can come in and buy 4, 5, or 6 different governance tokens to have more voting rights in the project if it's something that they really are amazed, you know, or really into. So what
Yeah.
I meant about Satoshi Nakamoto is that tokenomics model has allowed us to create our own tokenomics white
Right.
papers and models that work for us.
Do you know what's fascinating about this conversation? I don't know if
Mhm.
you've had chance to look at it yet, but on another Circularist episode that I put out last week, the conversation was about Bitcoin and energy consumption. And
Mhm.
the person that I spoke to, Guy Lane, he put out an appeal in that interview to Satoshi Nakamoto to to amend the code. So it's all around proof of works and the complexity of the algorithm. So as more and more people are trying to access the blockchain, the difficulty increases and the energy expended to crack that code goes up. So there's energy consumption that's rising in association with the blockchain. So the plot twist here is I'm hearing the flip side of that, where you're using that very same technology to fund vital work and innovation. Very interesting.
Right, right. We don't have to see the nature of this work, the freedom of tokenomics, the freedom of cryptocurrency and how this thing works is we don't have to. I'm writing a book called Zombie Socioeconomics, right? And it focuses on the fact that we will get freedom. We're prey to the most high, whatever the deities, the nature spirits that we interact with for freedom. We will get that freedom in certain aspects, and then we'll resubmit ourselves to old antiquated systems and just sweep that freedom away. We don't have to ask Satoshi Nakamoto for anything. Everything was set out. All we have to do now is just take what was laid out and now develop something that works for us. See, this tokenomics and cryptocurrency isn't supposed to be centralized. We have this need to try to re-centralize everything, and that's what's destroying us. That's the zombie socioeconomics. The dead is coming back and trying to eat our brains and wear us down when we already have the proof that it works.
Right.
So now all we have to do is use that as the basis for what we like to call neos, or newly emerging opportunities. You
Right.
understand?
Yeah.
And so we don't have to ask Satoshi Nakamoto for anything, because what these systems offer is freedom from bureaucracy.
Right.
The
Right.
people
So
that want to be involved with these systems are the only people that have to be involved with these systems that we develop. And the proof is in the pudding. Now, being out here in situ, we're able to see quickly if it works or if it doesn't work. We don't have to go through a lot of debate, sitting in classrooms and debating it. It either works or it doesn't.
so there's a way round. So there's a way round that particular code. You're saying that it's
Well, yeah,
possible
we
to
can we
innovate and,
can we
and
can we can take the
circumvent.
basics, the basic DNA and create something totally different.
Mhm.
Satoshi Nakamoto went forward. You're from UK, right? And
Yeah.
I'm sure you know a lot of West Indian people,
Yeah.
and none of us have a problem with grabbing a machete and chopping bush to carve a path. You understand? So that's what Satoshi Nakamoto did for us. We give thanks to Satoshi Nakamoto for doing that. And now we're free because we can do the same for ourselves.
Right.
So it's like this thing is a free for all. It can go anywhere. It's sky's the limit. This is some real uh Star Trek, Star Wars type vibrations happening here. You understand? And we're not realizing it because we keep bringing in our propensity to do things in the old ways, or the need to ask someone for
Right.
freedom. It's your
Right.
sovereign right.
Right.
You don't have to ask for it. And now that you have the tool and you have the machete, you just got to keep it sharpened.
I want to ask you something here around system change. Now, I think we've probably got a couple minutes to run on this video. Let's see. We've got 4 minutes to run. Okay. Let's try and get this one into the video. So, system change. The world needs system change. We need to build an alternative to the linear systems that we've currently arrived at. They're just built on the wrong philosophy of take, make, waste, plunder, abuse. So we've just been talking about blockchain and the whole freedom from having to ask permission. There are so many people around the world, and I started this Circularist series to just record and give voice to the many people who aren't waiting for permission, who have woken up and wanted to move into action. How are you saying that you can see blockchain as facilitating our efforts? What do you see? How can blockchain facilitate system change? How can we get system change? What are your thoughts on this?
Blockchain is code, right?
Yeah.
They're contracts.
Yeah.
You can design those contracts to do anything you want those contracts to do, right?
Yeah.
A lot of the fear when it comes to money is this. People fear, like, am I in order with the SEC? Will they come back and get me later because I offered this or said this thing? And what we're not realizing is that fiat currencies are delusions. The linear system is dying because it does not last. It is not ecocentric. You know, human centrism is our folly. You know, we believe that everything centers around what we want it to be, when actuality, we play a part in a greater system. Right. And all we have to do is get into our lane and play that part. Now, that part is, and if you study any religion, any indigenous system around the world, there's a common thread. And that common thread is that human beings are meant to be stewards, the workers maintaining the ecology.
Yes.
You know, we're supposed to be scientists. We're supposed to play a role as scientists. Indigenous people aren't just primitive people that were running around. They were scientists maintaining vital ecosystems.
Yes.
So if we get back into that role and understand that money is energy, you decide what the value of how you value that energy and how that energy is distributed. You know, if tomorrow you say, hey, I don't want to get out of bed and I just want to sleep and build up energy to do something 2 days from now, that is your choice. You understand? We're caught up in the mentality that money, right? And then it's like that money is the actual energy. So if you control the energy, you know, you control the future. We're trading energy. We're not, our tokenomics is based on the energy that we expend, the excess energy that we build up, maybe in biogas, in food, tradable food, and other sources of energy that we're able to generate, in labor, all types of things. There are many capitals, valuable capitals that we overlook chasing gold, silver, and paper dollars.
Right. So when you say money is energy, are you talking about the potential of energy? Are you saying that money could be energy, or are you describing something
I'm saying that money is a fiat that represents energy.
Right.
And it's naturally, the delusion of money is naturally disappearing. You don't have to do anything about it.
Okay.
So let's talk about, let's understand what I'm talking about as far as energy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the zombie economics and the things that the weakness is in what we're so used to and what we reattach ourselves to. We don't have to reattach ourselves to asking for permission now that we have certain codes and certain tools that put us beyond certain bureaucratic organization or certain situation, right?
Okay.
So like this thing that you're doing, right? This is a powerful thing. This is a very valuable thing, right? You are disseminating information independently.
Right.
This is peer to peer, right?
Mm-hmm.
You are interfacing with people who in a clear and conscious way, and forwarding and allowing them to disseminate ideas, right?
Right.
That would not be able to be disseminated under traditional systems. One, because the admin and the PR people think that they know what the world wants.
Right.
They think they know what is palatable to the world, right?
Yeah.
So there's a control system in play, and the thing that you're doing is a very valuable medium. You're developing it out. I don't like to call them brands. I like to call them imprints, because a brand reminds me of slavery, right? So
Okay.
you're building an imprint, a powerful imprint, right? That's making an impression in the world, right?
Right.
Now, that is your energy. You as the source of that, you as the imaginator, the invocator, the iconographer of that vision, right? You are controlling its destiny, and it is generating a certain level of value based off of the energy that you're putting into it, and the fact that you're not allowing it to be watered down in certain ways. You're bringing people forward to speak truth to power.
Right.
Now in an average medium, they're trying to figure out how to bring the old systems into the new.
Yes.
Now, I want to explain something to you about cryptocurrency, where that confuses a lot of people. Coinbase is not Satoshi Nakamoto's vision.
Okay.
Robinhood is not Satoshi Nakamoto's vision, right?
Right.
Satoshi Nakamoto's vision is based on us individually having cold storage and controlling the cryptocurrency, the tokens, the value that we're generating,
Right.
and trading from one cold storage unit to the next cold storage unit. The thing about cold storage is that if I pull something off of the blockchain at a specific time and it's coded in my cold storage, that is the value of that thing. If Bitcoin goes down in value 50%, what the coins that I have on cold storage are still valued at what they were at the specific time where I pulled them off the blockchain.
Right.
They're not subject to the ups and downs and the speculation
Of the
and
market.
that's an important word, speculation,
Mm.
because this is where we're failing. Speculation versus operation, right? A lot of what we base things on is speculative, it's speculation.
Mm-hmm.
Speculators are wizards. You know, they're like Lord of the Rings, the Sauron, who appears to be the white wizard, who's really the black wizard in the tower, right? It's we're in the world now where, as operators, you're an operator, I'm an operator. As operators, we can directly decide what we are going to do with our energy, what it's valued at, by generating and cultivating our own supporters and followers and so on and so forth. And we control that. The old world is trying desperately to figure out how to get it out of our hands, how to put a proxy in the middle of us and the freedom. And that's what we need to focus on. We need to focus on the liberation that these different white papers, the ERC 20 white paper, the liberation and how to build on that liberation. In any governing system, you put forward a certain level of governance, right? You test it, you figure out something is not working, you vote on it to make it better and stronger, you break it down to the molecules, you rebuild it back up stronger. That is what we're supposed to be doing. You know, we're not supposed to be begging Satoshi Nakamoto. Satoshi Nakamoto could be long gone.
Well, yeah, his identity is questionable. I mean, we don't really know if that's a real person.
Yeah, he can be long gone, and that's the beauty of this whole cryptocurrency liberation, is that the fact is that we don't have to depend on any specific cult of personality to make a thing happen for ourselves. I don't have to depend on this specific government. We figured out how to assess our own carbon footprints, and we set up our own validation and verification units on where we're able to do assessments and surveys to figure out the value of the carbon that we hold, whether it's on large conservation lands or whether it's on small footprint projects. And now we have the power to turn those into certificates and trade those on the carbon stock exchange. That's very powerful.
Yes. I want to ask you a big question. So we have been, in recent history, we've had our sights set on keeping within 1.5 degrees warming. That's now creeping up to 2.8. The situation is running away with us, and there's real urgency for humanity to come together and halt this situation. But nations are in the grip of short-termism, because governments are elected for just a handful of short years, and their focus is to extract and preserve and keep the status quo and keep their mates happy, and all of this short-termism that upholds the status quo. It upholds the fossil fuel industry, keeps it in place. What are we going to do? What does the world need to do? What does humanity need to do to save ourselves?
Big question. Do you really want to know that question? I will tell you something that scares most Westerners, right?
Okay.
In many indigenous cultures, we know this to be true, right?
Yeah.
You will find that in nature, and being in situ in nature and being connected with nature, life and death is a constant. It's not just all about how long can we prolong life. It's about life itself, the continuity, the endless continuity of life itself is a circular life and death cycle.
Yes.
So the honest truth of that question is there has to be a lot of burning for the phoenix to emerge. You know, there has to be a lot of death. And a lot of times what we're doing is we are trying to stop nature's answer. Nature's answer is terminating certain systems, terminating certain viability so that new life can be raised from that termination. You understand? The average Westerner who looks at the cultures that I hail from, and they'll look at, we use skull iconography, right? And a lot of that skull iconography is misunderstood. You know, it's scary, it's ghosts, it's bones, it's a celebration of the fact that everything that does not work, everything is perishable. everything must be laid to rest, and from that rest, new life begins. I think a lot of times that we don't deal with the realization of the fact that we have to be preparing on how to live, because we're out here, we're seeing the death, we're seeing the results, we're seeing, when you say that temperature rise, I see it. I see the shift. I go into areas where I don't see howler monkeys, where I saw howler monkeys flourishing 5 years ago. They're crossing roads for water. They're what's the word? The English word that they use for when a thing, they're thirsty. They're dehydrating. You understand? We see it. So a lot of our planning is based in the resurrection and the realization of that. We're not in the delusion that death is going to happen. It's happening now. And everything and everything that we are doing has to have meaning now. We don't have time to sit around in cubicles and offices and debate. All we have time to do is act, apply resilient systems that are focused on continuity. Whatever works, break it down into our recycling system, take the pieces that do work and rebuild a whole nother or apply a whole new system. That's how nature works. That's how ecosystems work. And that's what we're missing as human beings. We're far removed from how nature really works, and the reality that things have to die. And
yeah, even my garden teaches me this, right? And I love the lessons that nature gives that are all around us. The seasons, things apparently die off and are reduced, and then they hibernate, and then they flourish again in the right conditions.
Mm-hmm.
Around it goes. So that even our gardens, even our houseplants can teach us these principles that our industrial systems have just washed out of the equation, in terms of the systems we build. So, okay, so that was a big question. Let me go back. Let me go to another question. So, what's a typical day in your life? What does it look like out there in Belize, in nature?
An average day.
Yeah.
Well, getting up at 3 a.m. and doing an AM meditation and watching the sunrise, and just kind of going through a basic synopsis of the things that need to be done for the day. Now we're in nature, so we have to always think about water sources, food sources. If this section of the food forest or the garden looks to be having trouble, we need to figure out remediation plans. Everybody's supposed to be dealing with their section, their piece, their lane, of the earth, to make the whole overall situation better.
Okay.
And we may go out on ranger patrols and take data sets and extract information from the cameras, the trail cameras, fly drones, do water testing. We submit a lot of information to the Geospatial Intelligence Agency, so that they are aware and can disseminate that information to research institutes and other organizations that need vital information for their research projects. So
can I ask? Sorry to jump in there. So this data that you're collecting, are you the eyes and ears? Are you monitoring changes in biodiversity and the vegetation and
Yeah, we are more than likely the eyes and ears, a big part of the eyes and ears, and the source of the information that most people are reading.
Oh,
You know, from the news and different reports when they
oh,
give examples of deforestation and
yeah.
degree changes and things like that. It's the rangers. You know,
Ah,
the rangers are the ones that are actually out here collecting the data sets and the information, and we facilitate space and security for a lot of the researchers that come from the various universities from around the world,
right.
you know, to do their projects. So, yep, you
Hmm.
know, exactly. Mm-hmm.
So, if you had any message of encouragement or appeal to circularists in the West, in our boxes, fairly restricted, wanting to do something, not sure how to go forward, how to get funding, how to have impact, how to avert the looming disaster, what would you say to us? You're out there in nature, we're here in our boxes. Talk to us. What would you say?
I would say change the way that you're looking at things. Celebrate life, right? And understand it's the people and team that you collect around you, the people that you are actually collaborating with that provide the energy and the source, the basic source that you need to raise funding, so on and so forth. I think a lot of time we're out of water. We don't build up a gung ho. In the Marine Corps, we use a word gung ho. The spirit of the Corps, esprit de corps. Uh, that spirit, you have to generate a spirit of people around you that have a zeal about the things that you're doing, because that's what's going to generate the wealth and the things that you need, the funding that you need. You know, that's what's going to make people push the button to donate. That's what's going to, you know, make people want to join forces and add their resources to the pot, because that's more so. We do more of that than we do raise fund. We are great managers of resources
Mm.
and of capitals like cultural capital, socioeconomic capital, spiritual capital. Those things have extreme value and are extreme sources of energy that we overlook in our attempt to just try to get quote unquote funding. You know, we want to, it's more important to get energy, uh, to have an excess of energy or an abundance of energy involved with your projects than it is to have a paper fiat. The paper fiat will come, you know, if there's an excess of energy that drives people to
Right,
want to be a part of what it is that you're doing. You understand?
right. So
Um,
so mobilizing the will, mobilizing people and their
yeah,
energy is
the
must
will
come.
and the resources you have on hand, because you have a lot of wealth on hand that you overlook. You know, and you have
Such
to do
as such as
basic assessments. Well, like I was mentioning earlier, the capitals like cultural capital, spiritual capital, those things are high value now, especially in what I do, and seeing that ecotourism is like a multi-billion-dollar industry. When people come to places, tropical places like Belize and Thailand, they want to see culture. They want to go off the beaten path. When they go to Jamaica, they don't want to just be in hedonism and staying in a hotel. They want to see what's going on in the nature. They want to know how the water flows. They want to know about the maroon culture in
mm,
Jamaica,
yeah.
you know, the Mayan culture in Belize, the Ikichi the Korowai culture in Indonesia, these indigenous cultures. People want to be upfront and interact and find out what's going on and drink the water, swim in the waterfalls. So, you know, those things are what are valuable right
Mm,
now. So if you can identify that value, like my back right here right here where I am, 500 feet from me, as soon as we get off, I'm going to run down and jump in the waterfall.
Oh, don't say that.
Because it's hot.
Life's hard enough.
It's 104 degrees in the shade right now. So
Oh.
Fahrenheit. So, it's so what I'm saying is that, where most people would be thinking like, oh, I don't have the money, we have resources, especially indigenous people. We have access to supreme resources that we're not, and that now that in this new time of tokenization and carbon validation and verification, we can dematerialize those resources easy and trade those resources.
Right.
I don't have to go looking for somebody's dollar that's losing value, or yen, or renminbi, or whatever. You can actually really have a token that is backed by the utility of the very nature that you're existing in. And that's the power of this cryptocurrency and tokenization that people are failing to recognize.
Interesting, fascinating. So, Dr. Shak, I in an earlier episode, or an introductory episode of the Circularists, I asked the question, who does that? Meaning, who wakes up and decides they're going to turn the rest of their life over toward being a steward of the environment and being part of this effort to limit runaway global warming? Who does that? You've kind of answered this because it's in your DNA, but I'm going to ask you, what was your reason? When was your moment, and why?
This is that opportunity to big up the indigenous people around the planet Earth. Right?
Yeah, indeed.
Now, it's this, like I was saying earlier about the alien scenario and take me to your leader. The world should not overlook the fact, like I told you, that these data sets that people are quoting and that they're using to quote statistics and things are coming from the work that rangers are putting in on the front lines in these rainforests and these natural ecosystems.
Right.
A great deal of those rangers are, because something that we learned years ago is that, hey, there's no better or more fitting ranger than indigenous people who eat, sleep, and breathe this nature.
Of course.
So it's like we are here. So it's like, rather than spending a bunch of money and unnecessary funding trying to put people who aren't indigenous to the area, who aren't out here in the area, fund them, fund gas, fund Mahindras, fund Toyota Hiluxes, so on and so forth, put energy behind the people that are actually there. And what we've been doing over the years is converting these indigenous cultures and raising these indigenous cultures to operate as the world's ranger, conservation ranger forces. So it was an easy switch. The majority of people that live in what I like to call Metro Babylon, they love nature, but they don't want to be out here every day in it and dealing with the mosquitoes and dealing with the hardships and things like that. Well, what we're doing is we're pioneering and we're developing an integrative culture while we're going through those hardships, because it's been second nature to us. We know the medicine to take so the mosquito don't bite so often. We know the bush medicine to take to clear up colds and infections. We know these things. So as the leaders, the world needs to really look upon us as leadership and stop taking us for granted, because a lot of the things that is hard for the world is very easy for us. We're it's not that we're laughing at you, but it's like these things aren't problems because we've created a culture. We have infrastructure. We have a consciousness out here. When I noticed that the crickets change their vibration, I noticed that there's something going on. A lot of times when I go out the next day, I can see that they warned me of the temperature change that I'm witnessing.
Oh, amazing.
You know,
yeah.
And these are things that we don't take serious. We take for granted. The majority of the world's medical pharmaceutical breakthroughs are come from indigenous people
Right.
giving scientists tours
Right.
and showing them where the medicine is and how
Right.
to use the
Yep.
medicine.
Yeah.
I also sit on the board of psychedelic medical therapy, so I'm heavily integrated in all aspects of indigenous culture where it intersects with the environment.
Right.
You know, so that's what I say is it's that, you know, indigenous people stand up, scientists come and learn from us as the earth scientists who maintained and stewarded the planet for thousands of years, not just lowly people that you know you look down on when you're extracting information. You know, look at us for who we are. You know, we are the earth scientists, and when you put us under stress and duress, a lot of the earth stress and duress is the fact that you done us wrong.
Right.
And now is the time to balance those things and invest time, energy, even if it's advocacy, you know, and bringing an interest into what it is that we're doing. Make our YouTube channels blossom a little bit better, you know, take in that knowledge that we're giving. It's all over. Treat us properly, because I think they're overlooking that we are the buffers and we're willing teachers. We'll let you sit and backpack and live with us, and we'll feed you, and we'll teach you everything that you need to know as far as integrating with nature without you having to give us anything back but dedicated stewardship to the place that maintains us all. So when you say who does this, that's who does it. You know, these indigenous people that have been doing it for thousands of years, and our allies and friends who understand that and that come and break bread with us and coexist with us and extract information from us and keep channels and dialogues open with us. Don't just come out as a researcher and get your information, then go ghost after you become a billionaire writing your books on your discoveries that we showed you.
Right.
You understand? Stay in touch with us.
I do understand very clearly. So in our last few minutes then, I want to ask you about nature and our spirit. So you talk openly and naturally about the spiritual aspect of humans interacting with nature. In the West, we get caught up in arguments about whether even humans have a spirit, whether there is even such a thing. I want to just, could you just talk with me about any thoughts you have on our spiritual connection to nature and to animals? Is there a plane on which we connect with the animal kingdom spiritually?
I'll tell you an interesting story, right?
Okay.
About I won't mention his name, but people who understand and know of this character would know about the information that I'm putting forward, right?
Okay.
So a Western white man, an occultist, a spiritualist, and he forwarded information about the area that I'm in right now, you know, the nature that I'm existing in, and he called it the Yucatan Hall of Records, right? you'll hear stories about explorers looking for El Dorado, the cities of gold, and things like that, right?
Mhm.
So let's focus on this Yucatan Hall of Knowledge or Yucatan Hall of Records, right?
Mhm.
Now, from his point of view, when he transliterated what he was feeling and gave it to the world, if explorers from all over the place came down like Indiana Jones looking for this Hall of Records, going breaching temples, breaching jungles, encroaching on indigenous people's privacy and things like that to find this Yucatan Hall of Records, right? I'm going to give you a piece of information that'll help you really understand the question that you asked, right?
Okay.
In our culture here, we call the Yucatan the Yakutana, right? Yaku is celebrate or happiness. Tanai is sun, so it transliterates as celebrate the sun, right?
Okay.
But the sun worshippers were looked upon as heathens, right?
Mhm.
They were looked upon as whole cultures were burnt into non-existence because they were looked upon as devil worshippers or what have you, right?
Mhm.
And the basic is celebrate the sun. The place where the sun dwells are these rainforests, are these jungles, are these ecosystems where almost 99% of the Earth's biological makeup exists as far as biodiversity, plants,
Yeah.
animals. The rainforests are where everything is at, right?
Right.
So the Yucatan Hall of Records is what we call the Yakutana. It's the forest itself. The forest itself is a place of knowledge. When you dig in the soil, you'll see mycelium webs,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
It's like the internet of nature,
That's from
connecting
fungus, right? Just so
from
that we
fungi,
keep
from the
everyone with us.
mushroom,
The web of
connecting
fungi, right?
connecting everything,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
And what they fail to realize is it's not a temple, it's
Ah.
not a book,
Ah.
it's the tree and the nature that the book hails from.
Right.
It's the forest itself. If
Right.
you kill the forest, you're killing your source of knowledge.
Right.
You understand? And they don't look at it this way. They look at it, well, it's this particular place where all knowledge is stored. There's only one place on the planet where 99% of the Earth's biodiversity and biological resources are stored, and that's the rainforests.
Oh, of course it is. Of
You
course.
understand? Every knowledge, any knowledge that we want to interact with, any spiritual knowledge, because you can test, and I don't want to sully up your show, but I'll just say it this way. You can test the bullshit, the BS,
You go for it.
you can test the BS by seeing if it works out here in nature. If it
Right.
doesn't work out here in nature, then it's no continuity. It's just some jargon that someone is spewing. You
Okay.
understand?
Yes, I do.
So that's what spirituality is to us. It's everything. It's the frequency, it's the calmness, it's the crickets, it's the birds singing in the AM, giving us certain signs and symbols and a word about what to expect in the weather patterns and temperature. This is real. It's the smells, you
Yeah.
know, and it's all here. It's not about the books and how much we can put inside of a book. It's about taking care of the tree. We have a simple thing in our culture. It's very simple, simple mathematics. It's called the law. It transliterates as the law of succession, right?
Right.
A successor is uh is one that succeeds from a person, place, a thing, right? And uh uh so and you judge that by what sustains what, right?
Right.
Can you exist without a tree?
No.
So a tree is your sustainer.
Yeah.
So in all actuality, a tree is your ancestor. Westerners don't look at that. If a tree, on average, the trees around me may have been here for thousands of years, that's an ancestor that has witnessed the change.
Right.
You
Right.
understand?
Yes, I do.
There's knowledge contained in that tree.
Yeah.
There's information because they go in, they go core the earth
Right.
to receive the information. Like I'm just telling you basic science. I'm not
Yes,
giving you
I know.
any
Yes. It's not woo-woo.
spiritual
It's not
jargon
magic. It's
or spookism or
yes.
anything. I'm
Yes.
telling you what is
Yes.
real. So that law of succession is you can actually sit around and ask yourself, what sustains me? If
Mm,
I'm gone, nature's gonna thrive, right? If
yes.
nature's gone, will I thrive?
Right.
So is human centrism reality or is ecocentrism reality?
Right.
And that's what we have to start doing when we start calibrating spiritualism, because it's all science. It's
Right.
you know, they look at us in a way of not understanding that this was our science. This is cultural, biocultural science.
Yes.
You understand?
Mm,
Biodiversity science, everything that they pattern all of their systems and technologies off of are things that nature sustains. So without nature, there's nothing. So we have to really sit back and start looking at the mathematics. We pride ourselves on being logical mathematicians, but the majority of scientists aren't logical. I'm a scientist. I have multiple degrees as well. And I go back and forth with colleagues and cohorts about things. And, a lot of the things that, are nonsensical because it's pigeonholed in these zombie socioeconomic realities that should have died out 100 years ago. You
yeah.
know,
Hmm.
um, free energy should have been here 100 years ago. Nikola Tesla walked the earth 100 years ago.
That man.
And and and,
Oh,
and we are all scrambling because of greed. One,
right.
a cohort of individuals greed, not because of what uh nature, because nature provided it. You understand?
I do. I was watching a video just last night about Nikola Tesla, um, and his theories and the way he looked back to the pyramids of Egypt. We
Mhm.
think they're tombs. There are some other ideas about them being energy generators using solar energy and all sorts of things.
This is a fascinating conversation. Very pleased to be talking with you today.
Right. We could have had the answer. We could have gone in another, we could have taken another fork in the road, like you
Well, we
say.
did. We did have the answer because if you look at every place on the planet where there are major pyramids and structures that we can't identify, you're seeing signs that they were placed in the most abundant areas
Yes.
on the planet Earth.
Right.
All
Right.
the pyramids here are in jungles. This is an abundant place.
Right.
I guarantee that you cannot have a high energy pyramid complex in a place that is not riddling with biodiversity and biocultural abundance. That's energy again. Here we
Right.
go.
Right.
That common thread.
Yes.
So
Yes.
our ancestors knew where the money was. They knew what
They
money is.
knew.
We're the ones that have the problem and can't figure it out because of we are cursed by the need to control something that cannot be controlled. A lot of what we a lot of what we found our basic belief systems on is really foolishness that is not in balance with the ecosystem that sustains us. We're human beings and we're part of an ecosystem. We're not separate from the ecosystem. We're sustained by that ecosystem. But a lot of the things that we subscribe to don't take that ecosystem into account. That's what in my opinion, that's what circularism the dragon biting its tail. That's what it's all about. Understanding that we are a part and a piece of the puzzle, and that we are not these all-knowing conquerors. We are not in control. So there's something that goes on, whereas just for the powers to maintain control, they'll forward a lot of nonsense to make it appear as, they're the top of the food chain. And what I'm here to tell you is that scientists and leaders around the world have been shaking in their boots for years. All of these things that we are worried about and we're afraid of, and the system collapse, they knew that this was coming, because they knew that the one thing that they could not conquer and that they could not control was nature. Period. They know this. This is why you have a propensity to destroy it. It's a big part of human beings' misunderstanding and inability to understand that God is not just a human man in the sky. God is the nature itself. Spirituality is the nature itself that sustains us, and I know it sounds deep, and it's a lot of jargon, but my root is an engineer. I'm an engineer. I spend a lot of time thinking about this stuff, like, yo, this stuff is engineered perfectly for us to sit in a specific place and flip switches and do, basic things to maintain an ecology that'll sustain all. And we tend to make it hard on ourselves trying to reinvent something that was already designed for us to maintain. It's a lot easier than what we think, and it's very, very simple. And a big part of it is coming out into nature, interfacing with nature, being tested by nature, and finding out who you are. I'll tell you, to this day, I haven't seen a bigger equalizer for spiritual gain and spiritual epiphanies and so on and so forth than nature itself, or going out in nature and taking nature hikes and, going to go see the majesty of what nature is. We forget that when you sit in a cubicle all day long, and you don't go to a top of a mountain to really see the vastness of this thing, you tend to really believe all of this mess that you see on TV when people are telling you that they won't destroy anything. You know what'll happen? They'll destroy themselves, and nature will remediate itself and go forward. We're going to be the ones that die out, not nature.
Humanity. Do you think humanity will?
Humanity, if we don't get in order with nature, we're basically purging ourselves from the natural order.
Right.
So and it's just very basic. It's as basic as that. You can't flush your waste into the ocean and think that it won't become toxified. Right. That's just reality. Now we saw with the COVID-19, when humans were told to stay in the house, we saw places like what's the place in Italy where the little men, they use the sticks and they push, I think they call them gondolas.
Venice. The
Venice.
Waterways.
We saw how the waters in Venice just became clean, and the dolphins and all over the planet this was happening. So that tells us something that we should really pay attention to. That tells us that it's the toxicity is really on us. We're the toxic element, and we're the ones that have to change and rebalance ourselves to where we're not that, because Earth will just purge the toxicity and keep going.
I
We
have,
won't destroy it.
yeah, I have this idea that humanity cannot enter into its next stage of evolution unless we change, psychologically and spiritually. We have to become a different humanity. We have to become a different type of human. We have to become more mature collectively.
You know what anthropology has shown us?
What?
And why I believe what you're saying is correct. And anthropology has showed us that there were different Denisovans, there are different types of humans moving among the planet at the same time, and certain humans outlive the others. So
yeah, I feel this.
Yeah, and one of the things that I always tell people is, don't ever expect, it's never going to be a thing where all humanity goes to the next level.
My concern is that about the type of human that might manage to preserve themselves into the next stage of humanity's evolution. My concern is the billionaires and those that have will find some way to ensure their survival at the expense of others who are more spiritually, ecologically minded, that who would be better.
You are asking some as we say back in the hip hop, dope questions, and I'll tell you why. I actually have experience with in my engineering background, where I've done consultations for a lot of those quote unquote billionaires that wanted bunkers and wanted certain things laid out. I'll tell you this, right? No matter how much money you invest in those bug out bunkers and these arcs and trying to save these seeds and things like that, there's a high expectation of failure in the design of those systems. Okay. Nothing will outlast nature itself. So what I like to tell people is, hey, get with nature, get in alignment with the natural vibrations, rebuild soil, regenerative agriculture. Those are better investments than trying to store up a bunch of perishable items in a bunker somewhere. You understand?
Yes, totally.
Remember what I was saying about energy earlier and surrounding yourself with people. Now, those rich and wealthy people, they aren't surrounding themselves with people who are of a giving nature, who will work with their system. What will happen with these systems is that during the major collapse, everybody that's around those valuable things are just going to fight each other to the death for it. Right now, we're supposed to be cultivating love, happiness, and that's what's going to get us to the next level of evolution. People that believe in the community. People have to believe in their communities.
I really believe that's the path forward. And it sounds a bit crazy, but it has to be true. It has to be.
Yeah, these billionaires aren't. It's almost, you have to kind of look at it in the sense that a lot of what they do is not necessarily building a longevity. They're building a grave.
Yeah, really.
You know, a tomb, like a pharaoh. You know, and it's you know, that stuff has a short lifespan. You know, some of it might exist and might last, but nature is very regenerative. Nature will wipe purge the planet and regenerate itself to function in under a whole new operational system.
I
So
think, yes, I think so. Because the history of humanity has shown that this old reptilian brain loves to oppress and to enslave and to hold back and to compartmentalize, and the otherism and the tribalism and all of this destructive stuff that is humanity's legacy. It's run its course, and I think we're seeing the evidence around this because we're about to obliterate ourselves.
mm-hmm.
That's how dumb we are on that certain level. So in order to move forward, we have to adjust our frequency, and we have to adjust the way in which we relate to one another and to the environment. We have to adjust that because
the current microeconomic. Excuse me, I'm sorry.
You go.
The current microeconomic realities that we cultivate will become the new macroeconomic reality. So that's why it's so important for everybody to kind of get control of their sectors and their community, commune. You have to commune. It's very hard to get amongst people that don't believe in what you're talking about and what you're saying and build with them.
Yeah.
So it's a high importance right now of communing with your quote unquote alikes, the people that understand the language that you're talking and the intent that you're pouring in to the things that you're doing. You'll find economists that'll look at what you're doing and they're like, circularists. They're dying, right? And they're like, circularists. It's a joke, but they're the ones that are perishing right now, the linear mentality is what's perishing right now, It's delusional. It doesn't work. Nothing works in that way. Nothing works in that form.
Right.
Nature doesn't engineer itself, to function in that form. So now we're learning that it's all a delusion. And just like Buddha, we have to lay those delusions aside and start living a life where we're really grasping the realities around us. You got to get out here and live in your environments, no matter where it is. If you're Inuit, that could be a cold region. If you're, wherever it is that you're from, you have to interface with your environments and steward those environments and build the soil. And all cultures around the planet are grounded on the same earth. So, and that shows how important the earth itself is, So, I'm an optimist, even though I'd say things like what I said earlier, that things have to die. That's just what I see in nature. I'm an optimist. I know that fall comes and then there's spring, and that's how nature works,
Yes. I'm an optimist too. And I've got a plant. I've got 3 Deutsche plants that I've grown from they were just little pound shop seedlings. And I grew them inside in the winter, ready to plant in the spring. And I didn't change the water. And one of them was at the point of death. It looked like it had been poisoned by the water it was sitting in, right? And I took it out and planted it anyway. For the whole of the spring and summer, it stayed in the earth with one single leaf on the stem. And I kept willing it and watching it. And all I could see for the whole season was the one leaf. But under the earth, it was sending out its root system and getting itself ready to come out of the death of winter into the new season. And now it's 5 foot tall like the other ones and just abundant. But I always, we're talking about the lessons that plants and nature give us. that was a lesson in a near-death experience and in resilience and in, you know, the power to just endure for a better day. So I kind of draw from that my hope that humanity will enter its better self and that we'll do the right thing somehow and build a new tomorrow. So I think that is a nice optimistic kind of place to end, isn't it?
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And I really enjoyed our talk.
Likewise.
You know, a lot of times there is a community, but a lot of times our work is a bit isolated, you know, so it's like it's always appreciated to spend some enjoyable time talking to people from across the pond and in whole other areas of the planet about similar things and concepts. You know, you've definitely stimulated me into thinking about some things that I wasn't thinking about before. So it definitely was a pleasure to meet you.
Well, absolutely. Yes, likewise. And I hope that we can do some repeat recordings, maybe out there, outside, you know, having a look at your world, following your progress, any discoveries, any warnings that you'd like to relay back through this video series to people. We could think about all of that.
Definitely. James Brown, what he says is, it ain't nothing to it but to do it. So we put it in the atmosphere. So like, you know, it's as simple as that. And I feel like I made a friend with an audience of friends that I can, that I know that I will probably know for a lifetime. So yes. Yeah, blessings. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Dr. Chak, and keep up the good work. Look forward to hearing some updates in the near future.
Thank you so much, and please connect and check us out on check out our new YouTube page at GeoCOMPASS GeoCOMPASS-EX to kind of stay abreast of the different things that we are doing and offerings that we are giving out to the world to kind of show them, give them an insight into, you know, how we're moving and different ideas of how to live like a fluid circulus. You understand?
Fantastic. I will share the link at the end of the video and when I share in LinkedIn. And yeah, we look forward to hearing more from you.
All right. Salute. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.